Hello everyone, I'm Arunima from Knitter Knotter, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make these pinwheel squares using Tunisian crochet. I'm going to cover the basic construction of these squares. So all these squares are made exactly the same way. The only difference is when we change color. So I'm going to make one square completely, and I'm going to show you how to make each of these patterns. And this is just a repeat. So if you see one of these squares, so if you look at this section here, this small square on this side, this is just a repeat pattern on all four sides. So if you look at all of these, it's exactly the same. So this one shows it best. So this pattern is repeated 4 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. The same thing is going on in all of these squares. So if you know how to make one corner, one square, then you can just repeat that same pattern and make any of these designs, and I'm going to cover all 4 of them in this video. There are a few things I want to point out. So the first is I've made these squares using 10 stitches. So I start with, so there is a center chain or a circle. This gray row is the first one where I created the foundation row, for instance. So if I started from here, I start with 10 stitches and then I decrease all the way on this side, and this one is anchored over here. So this is the center. So if I have 10 stitches in my foundation, then there's 9 stitches on this side and 9 stitches on this side. So I do not have 20, but I have a total of 19 stitches on one so say this triangle on this side, and so every one of these is 19. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's the center. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So there's 19 stitches or 19 rows on each edge, each side. And this is, I'm going to start with this pattern because I feel like it's the easiest in terms of seeing how to make these stitches. So if I'm going to make this with simple stitches, Tunisian simple stitches, and I'm also going to show you how to carry yarn in the back. So if you look at this, you can see this nice neat little line in the back where the yarn is carried. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So this is all that we're going to cover in this video. So let's get started. So for this video, I'm going to use Lily Sugar and Cream yarn in 2 colors. So these 2 colors, you need 2 contrasting colors to see a good effect. You can choose whichever 2 colors you like, but for this video I'm going to use these 2 colors, and I'm going to start with this one. And the one thing that I forgot to mention earlier is that you also need to know how to change color at the beginning of the forward pass for this. So if you look at this square, I've changed color at the beginning of the forward pass in every row. So I'm going to start with this one. So I'm going to make one corner of this and then one corner of the other 3 squares. So let's start. So to begin, you need to make 4 chains. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then join with a slip stitch. And this is the center where you will anchor all your stitches from the square. And I think it's a good idea to put a stitch marker here in case you can't figure out where your center ring is. So here, I'm just going to put a stitch marker here so I can see where this is in case I lose it. And now you can make this with any number of stitches you'd like, and the pattern will remain exactly the same, but for this tutorial I'm going to make it with 10. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I'm going to make my foundation row. I usually make it in the back bumps, but in this technique it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to do the easy one where I'm making the foundation row in the top bar here. that should be 10 stitches. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And we will make one, we will join with this center loop yarn over and pull through. So that leaves us with 11 loops on the hook at the beginning of the forward pass. So if you're using 10 stitches, then you'll have 11 loops on the hook at the end of the forward pass for the foundation row. So then yarn over, pull through 2 all the way to the beginning of this row. And I'm not going to complete this because I'm going to change color. This is the block I'm going to start with, and you'll see why I said that it is easy to explain how to do this with this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and attach this yarn. And if this is distracting, if color changing is distracting, you can move forward in the video and find the section where I'm making this one or even this one, and there will be no color changes in that section. So if that's easier for you, that's more comfortable, you can jump to those sections. So here for the next row, I'm going to make a simple stitch in each of these foundation row stitches. And I will not make a stitch in the center loop. So at the end of the forward pass here, I will have 10 loops on my hook. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 10 loops on my hook. I'm going to make my return pass. I will not chain one. I will just yarn over and pull through 2 all the way. And then over here, I'm going to go ahead and pick up the other color and complete this. So I'm going to change color at every row, and I'm going to reduce the size, the number of stitches in each row by 1 on every row. So I started with 11 loops on the hook. In this I had 10, and I'm going to have 9 now. So just make simple stitches in all of these stitches from the previous row, except for that last slanted stitch. I'll show you just a second. So this one is that decrease from the previous row, so we'll not make a stitch in this last slanted one. We'll just make one here in this vertical bar, and that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and yarn over, pull through 2, and that sort of creates a return pass decrease. And this one will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then yarn over, pull through 2, and change color. So this section I feel is the easier one. You just have to decrease. The next one is where it gets a little tricky. Change color. So here I made this until I have 2 loops on my hook. So I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 rows, and this is the 10th one. So if you remember from here, I talked about this a little bit in the beginning. So this is 1, this is the center row, that's the one, that's the foundation over here. So that's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So this is the 10th one. And now for the next section, we'll build this on this side. So we'll rotate our work 90 degrees, and then we'll start working in this direction. So I'm going to rotate my work 90 degrees, and I'm going to now not change color over here because I end with this color, and then I'm going to start with this color in the next row. So I'm going to complete this row. That's the 10th row for this side. And now I'm going to rotate my work. So I've already rotated it. So this is how it was. And I'm going to rotate my work 90 degrees. And this is, I'm going to construct the rest of it in this direction. So now to do this, I'm going to match colors for each row. And that's where the easy part comes, I think, to understand how to make this. So I have to make my first row of this side. So what I'm going to do is I have this loop on the hook, that's the first one, and then there's this horizontal bar from the previous row that I'm going to pick up, and yarn over, pull through, and that's my first row for this side, this edge. So now I'm going to change color because the next one is going to match. So this row matches this one. It's slightly difficult to see, but the next row has to match this one. So for the next row, I'm going to pick up this vertical bar. Now this is a vertical bar. And then I'm going to pick up this horizontal bar from the same color over here. So that's 3 loops on the hook. And then yarn over, pull through, and yarn over, pull through, but with a different color. That's because I'm going to now make the next row with this color. I'm going to join with this row here, which is of the same color. So if you see in this here, matching rows of the same color, so they all join with the same color. So here I'm going to, so one more thing I want to point out here is that some people put stitch markers in their stitches over here to make it easier for them to see. So as you're making your rows, you can put a stitch marker in this last that slanted stitch, so you don't really have to find it as you're working this side. That is helpful for some people. And the other thing that I've found helpful, which I've used in my swatch, in my square for the blanket cal, is that instead of only picking this one in the front, I picked up both the front and the back, sort of like we pick up 2 vertical bars to make an edge stitch. And that was because my join was very, very loose. I guess that was because of the kind of yarn I was using. So that worked out well as well. So if this doesn't feel right by just picking up one, it is completely fine to pick up these 2 bars to make that join there. So for this row, I'm going to make a simple stitch and then another simple stitch in here in that join from the previous row, and then pick up that horizontal bar here and join. So with every row, you're going to add 1 loop on the hook. And yarn over, pull through. The next row will be the same, just make simple stitches. In all simple stitches, make a simple stitch in that join, and then pick up join with the same color by picking that slanted stitch there. And that's all that you need to do. You just need to keep changing color with every row, and you'll see the pattern that we're going for. Here we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 loops on our hook, and this is where it gets interesting. So I'm going to now untangle my yarn just because I've been crossing it at the back, and I'm going to yarn over, pull through 2. This is going to be the exact same as the previous rows, and I'm going to change color here. And this next row that I'm going to make, so this is 9 rows. If you count, you can count the number of loops on the side. It's easy with this, the color changes here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if you remember, I said that there is the center row and there's equal number of stitches or rows on equal number of rows on both sides. And so this is 10 and this is 10. The 10th is this for both of them. So there's a total of 19 stitches. So the center row counts as as a part of this triangle here and this triangle here both. So for the next, this center row will be anchored in this loop here. So I'm going to go ahead and do what I was doing earlier by making simple stitches in each. That should be 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and that join here 10 loops on the hook, and then anchor here, and that's 11, and yarn over, pull through 2 all the way to the beginning. I'm going to go all the way in this because I'm not going to change color at this point. So if you see, if you continue making this on this side, you will just, it's almost like you're starting here again. So you're going in around, but you're making these squares instead of circles. And so this, if you keep going, making changing color every row, this is what you will end up with. Now for the next one, I'm going to make this, which is there's 5 rows of this one color, and then I start changing color. I'm going to show you how I did that. And there's also this yarn that's carried in the back, so I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So this will be, because this is the center, this will be counted as the first row, and then this is the second row where it's the exact same as what we did over here, where we make simple stitches in each stitch, and we'll not count the anchor stitch here. So there should be 10 loops, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, all the way to the beginning. And I forgot to carry my yarn, so let's do this again. To carry my yarn, I'm just going to hold this on this side and pull this yarn. Just make sure whichever direction you're doing it in, it should be the same always. So this is sort of interlocking it. I moved that on the other side, and then I'm going to pick up this yarn again, and here I'm going to make my 10 simple stitches. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I always count that first one as a stitch. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 loops on the hook. And then yarn over, pull through 2 all the way to the beginning. And then for the next row again, I'm going to move this yarn to this side, pick this one, bring it up at top, and pull this one from the other side. So this sort of interlocks this at the back, and make my simple stitches. This time it will be, I believe, 9 loops on the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And yarn over, pull through 2, so that completes the third row for this triangle on this side. I'm going to make a total of 5 rows in this color. And I tug on this carried yarn at the back just a little bit, so it doesn't, it's not too loose at the back. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 rows in that color, and then I'm going to interlock these again, and this is the 5th row. So I'm not going to complete this. I'm going to change color at this point to make this pattern. So here, after making 5 rows, if you see, this one is the center, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of the same color, and then we change color. So I'm going to pick up this other color again. I like to always move this yarn to the other side and then pick it up from this side. Pick the other one from this side. So here you can see that this is nicely interlocked at the back. And I'm going to, so the pattern is exactly the same. It is, you just have to keep decreasing. This is a reverse pass decrease, and it's just a matter of changing color at in different ways, so you get these different patterns. And if you see, I always pick up my yarn to work with from the same side. So I move the working yarn on the other side, and I pick it up from this side, the new one from this side. That makes it nice and neat in the back. I'll show you in a moment. So I'm changing color at every row, the beginning of every row. Oops. And at this point, I keep twisting my yarn because I'm locking those threads, so I have to untangle them after every few rows. So you might want to do that. And change color. and this is the 5th one, and I'm going to stop here. So this is 5 rows of one color and then 5 rows with alternating colors. So this section now is very similar to this one that we already made here, where you're going to make the first row of that next side after you turn this 90 degrees with that same color to match the rows on that side, match the color rows on that side. So you just turn it 90 degrees. That completes that row. That is the 10th row of that previous section. And then now we're starting on this side, and we just pick up that horizontal bar with the same color. And now I'm going to change color because I want to, for the next row, I want to match this one. So I pick up that join, and then I pick up this slanting stitch from that same color and yarn over, pull through 2, and I'm going to change color now. So it's easy to see where to change color with this because you're just matching the rows on the other side, other section that you just made, the perpendicular one. So here, this one, and the next one will be the last color change for this section because I'm done with the yellow. And so this is the, I think this is the 6th row. This is 1. It started with the yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the 6th row. And I'm going to now not change color because, as you see, I just have to match color on this side, and I'm done with changing colors here. So I'm going to now make rows with this same color, and you'll see now that there is no color change. It's slightly more tricky to find that next stitch to join with. So here, this is the row that we ended with. This is the join from the previous row. You have to find the row next to that, and then find that slanted stitch in that row. Because it's the same color, I always find it slightly hard. I have to stop and look where I need to insert my hook just to make sure that I am doing it right. It's easy to insert your hook in the wrong stitch. I've done it multiple times, so just be careful when you do this. And that's the reason I chose the color changing section first, to show you so you understand the pattern. And then with a little practice, you'll know where to insert your hook. Now see here, we've picked up this join from the previous row, and you have to now find the next row, which is this one, and then that slanted stitch from this row. So I'm going to make a total of 5. So this is 3. This is 4. And the next one will be 5. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and this is the 10th one here in that join. And because this is that center row, you'll be able to see that this is matching the other side with this one. If you lay it flat, then this row matches this one, so this needs to be anchored in that center loop. So that's 11 loops on your hook, and then yarn over, pull through 2 all the way to the beginning. So that completes this. So there's 2 squares. This is the first one, and this is this section right here. And here's this one, which is this section right here. So if you continue making these with counting this as the first row for that next side, if you turn like this, you count this one as the first row for the next side, that next square. And if you continue making this pattern with this is the first one, and then 4 more rows in the solid color, and then change color every row, you will, and if you keep going, if you make all 4 smaller squares with that same pattern, you will end up with this. So it's very easy to create patterns with this, because you just need to figure out this sort of one corner, and the rest of it just matches. Okay, so I just realized that I didn't carry this yarn at the back, which is okay. I'm not going to bother unraveling this and doing it again, but let me just show you how it looks at the back right now. So you can see that because I was crossing the yarn, there's a nice little woven finish at the back for the carried yarn. And here I have this yellow yarn being carried at the back, and I would have carried this over, but for now I'm not going to, but this is where it would have been. So for the next one, I'm going to make this where both the sections of this triangle are the same color. So I'm going to just continue working with this orange yarn, and I'm okay with not carrying yarn in the back. But if you wanted to use this on the other side, which I will at some point, I'd most likely carry this yarn in the back, but at this point what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it and I'm going to reattach on the other side. So for making this, I'm just going to continue working over here. So I'm going to consider this as my first row for that section. Again, I'm repeating this over and over again because it took me a while to understand this, but this row is a part of this section. That is the 10th row in this section, and it is the first row in the other section. So it counts towards both sections. So for the first part, this is the easy part where you just have to do the decreases. So I'm going to go ahead and do it because this is all in one color. I don't have to worry about changing color. So it has to I have to have 10 loops on my hook. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So I'm missing one. Here's the 10th one. And then yarn over, pull through 2, and keep doing this. I'm going to keep doing this until I have those I end up with 2 loops on the hook on a single row. And here I have 2 loops on the hook at this point, and this is, so if you count from here, this is row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and this is the 10th one. So this is the last one on this side, and I'm going to complete this, and I'm going to turn my work 90 degrees. And you see, if I just start with this, I feel a little intimidated even now. Just to make sure that I have all my stitches right is a little difficult, so I take it slow, and that's exactly what I'm going to do here. So here I've rotated 90 degrees, and this is the first loop on my hook. So I'm going to pick up this one here, that's the horizontal bar, and yarn over, pull through 2. So that's row 1 for this side. And for the next rows, I'm going to first pick up the one where I joined, and I'm going to find the slanted bar here on the next row. Yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over, pull through 2 all the way to the beginning. I'm going to do that for every row, and I have to do that until I have 10 loops on my hook at the end of the forward pass. So here, that's 3, and so this is this current row, this is the next row, and this is that slant in the next row. So here I have rows 1, 2, 3. So it might be useful to mark that first row here with a stitch marker. It's hard for me to see where I started and where I ended, so I just put a stitch marker there, so that marks that first row. So this is the third row. Now I'm on my fourth. So this 3, and then this is that join, and then find that next row. This is the next row, and then there's that slanted stitch. And then the next one, same thing. This is 9, and this is 10 here. It always helps to count because it's hard to see where the stitches are and how many you need to make, especially with those anchor rows. It gets difficult to figure out where you are. So this is 10 loops on the hook, so that completes this section, and the next row that I'll make, I'll have to anchor it at the center. So if you you'd anchor 4 rows to this center. So this is the first one, this is the second one, here's the third, and there's one more that I'm going to make here. So for the next section, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to actually start with the yellow color, and that's why I didn't make that anchor row quite right now, because I just wanted to show you how it is in a different color again. So I'm going to now cut this yarn and attach here again. I would have carried this in the back, but I'm okay with it, with cutting it for this tutorial. So here, and I'm going to now make simple stitches. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and you have to pick up the 10th one in that from that join from the previous row. Don't forget that, and then anchor it with that center. So if you can't find it, that is where the stitch marker helps. There is that loop, and there. So here is that anchored center row. And if you count the number of rows here, this is the first one. So it's easy to see which one where we started. Otherwise, it'd be hard to figure out. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this is the 10th one. So this counts as a part of both this section and that section. So for the next section, I'm going to make this side with this color. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry the yarn again so that you can see how that happens one more time. So move it to the side and pick that up here. Should be 10 loops on the hook. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I'm going to remove the stitch marker now. I don't need it anymore. Oops, I again forgot to carry that yarn. I'm going to show you how to do it here. So you move that to the side, the working yarn, bring the one that we need to carry on the other side and move it to the same side, and then pick this one from the bottom. So here it's interlocked here. I keep forgetting to do this. I've had to frog my so many rows of my of the samples that I've made before that I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to keep myself from forgetting. But for this tutorial, I'm not going to frog, but I'm just going to pick up from where I remember. The only purpose of carrying this yarn at the back is that's two. You don't have to cut the yarn and join again, so there's less ends to weave in, and it gives a uniform look at the back. So if you'd like a uniform look at the back of your project, so that's useful. That makes a very, very nice looking wrong side of your project. So the reason I'm carrying this is because I'm going to make the next section. So this section is the side, and then the next one is going to be here. That is going to be with the other color. So the one drawback of this carrying yarn like this is that you keep interlocking with the other color, and then your yarn gets sort of tangled. So to make sure that you are twisting your project or the skeins to untangle them after every few rows. And at this point, I'm going to now change color. This is different from anything that we've done before in this square because we have to make the other side with this color. So once I do this, this makes the first stitch of the other side. So this is how it is. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rows on this side of the yellow, and then I just wanted to show you because this is different from what we've done before. So here yellow is done, so I'm not going to carry it in the back. If you wanted to, you could do it, but for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm not going to. I keep forgetting, and it's a lot of work for me to remember it. So to make that first row, I'm going to find that first horizontal bar and yarn over, pull through 2, and then this is the same as what we've been doing before. As I said, the pattern is exactly the same. You have to do your increases and then your decreases. So decreases in this section and the increases in the one that we're making right now, and you just have to do it 4 times over so you get a square. But that's all there is to it. You just change color differently to get all these different patterns. Here, that's 4, and then find that next row and that color, that slanted stitch. So I think you could make this with different other stitches too. I've not tried it, but it would be an interesting experiment. I might do it at some point, but alternating sections of different stitches might be nice, or just doing the entire square in a different stitch might be nice. So there's a lot of possibilities with this square. So let's count the number of rows here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is where we need to stop, because if you remember, we've reached a starting point again here, and that 10th row will be this first foundation row that we'd made. So the only part that's remaining now is to join this with that foundation row to close this square. So this is how it's looking right now from the front. There's a lot of loose yarn, and this is how it's looking at the back, if you want to see. If you carry yarn all the way, then you don't have a lot of these ends to deal with. You just have 4, 2 in the beginning, 2 in the end, but that's how it is. And I'm quickly going to show you how to close this. So at this point, I'm going to cut the yarn. I'm going to pull this through. I'm going to pick this color. You could pick any color actually. For this one, it will work out best because it's this, both the foundation row in this side and this color are the same. But if they're of a different color, then that it works. Either it doesn't matter which color you're picking, because this yarn will be hidden mostly, and you'll see how. So here I'm going to do an invisible join on this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my hook, and from this side, front to back, and pick up these 2 vertical bars, or horizontal bars in this case, and pull through. And then I'm going to insert my hook in the top one from front to back here, and I'm going to pull tight so that thing that I just made should be invisible because we don't want to add a stitch there. It looks awkward. I've tried it. I think it's in one of my squares here. I thought I could just leave one stitch there. If I could just leave it like this, it's a nice join, but it adds that extra loop here, which doesn't look nice. So just close it tight. And then I like to make a knot here to make sure it doesn't become loose. So there, that's joined properly, and you can see that sort of flows well. And now what you've got to do is, if you see with every row, it starts from this side and ends on that side. Every stitch starts on this one side and ends on the other side. So we're going to mimic that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my hook on this side. So this is supposed to go in above that foundation row chain. Here above the foundation row chain, right next to that vertical bar. And then I'm going to find the first stitch after that edge stitch, insert my hook like this, and then insert the hook back the same place where I had inserted it earlier, and just pull really tight so that this stitch comes back, this thread comes back. It just sort of pulls that simple stitch really tight, and you can see that sort of now flows. It's almost like they were made on top of each other. So I'm going to do that again for all of these. So that was the second stitch. The third one, just make sure that you're making this above that foundation row, foundation chain. Don't want to split the yarn anywhere, just over there. And then insert your hook, pick up this simple stitch, and insert the hook back where you inserted it in the beginning, and pull really tight. And just keep doing this for the entire row. So that was the third one. This is the fourth. If you do this right, it'll after you've completed it, it will be very hard to see where your join was. Like in some of my squares, it's very hard to see where I joined, and you don't always get it 100% right, but it's very, very close. So this one, see, it's not 100% right, but I'm just going to let it be. I don't mind that. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Six. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, this is the 8th one. Just make sure that when you pull this yarn tight, you're not pulling it from here because it can pinch a little. And this is the last one. This is the 10th one. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th one, I'm sorry. 9th one here. And we'll not do the 10th one, actually. We'll just leave it at this. So that's how it is looking. So you can see that it's, unless you look very closely, it's hard to see where that is, and I've not done it really well. But if you see that these are not lining up, like this one isn't lining up, you just undo it and do it again. So here I'm going to remove the stitch marker. At this point, I just weave in these ends, and this is how it's looking. So this is all 4 of these. So we started with this that matches here, then we made this one that matches this side, and then we made this one that matches this side, and then we made this last one which matches here at the side. So every square that I've made like this benefits from some blocking. This sits fairly straight, but a little blocking will make a huge difference. So this is pretty much all there is to make this square. You can make different patterns with it. You can change color in different ways, and you can create some very, very interesting squares with it. So if you like this tutorial, please like and subscribe to my channel. I have a bunch of other tutorials and free patterns on my blog too, which you're also welcome to look at. I'm going to add links to all the stitches and techniques used in this tutorial in the description below, and you'll also find a link to my blog there. So leave me a comment if you have anything to share, or if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. See you in my other videos. Bye bye.